Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
And on this Jobs Day, we want to bring you an interview right now with Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su, who joins me now. Secretary, thank you so much for your time. So we just got the data, have been digesting over the past 30 minutes. The jobs number came in higher than expected at 275,000 jobs, but the unemployment rate ticked higher to 3.9%. Can you explain that divergence to us?
That's right. So the jobs numbers continue to be very strong. The 3-month average is actually 265,000. So, we look at trends as much as we look at monthly numbers. And on that, the unemployment rate remains under 4% for over 2 years now. That's the longest stretch in 50 years. So as the president noted last night, the economy remains strong. The union remains strong. We're moving things in the right direction, and we have more work to do, and we'll continue to do it.
Right, but we've had revisions as well, and that's going to be tempering some of this hot labor market. So revisions were down for January by 124,000 jobs. So is this job market not as strong as you were expecting and anticipating?
No, the job market is stronger than anyone really predicted. Let's go back to, when the president first came into office and all predictions were of, recession and crisis and crash. None of that has materialized. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens through leadership and strong economic policies. And, we're seeing that month over month. The revisions are a feature of the numbers. We put out numbers every month so that we can have a picture that tells us what's going on in the economy, and then we revise them to make sure that they're accurate. And that's why we look at, again, not just what happens each month, but over time. And our over time figures demonstrate strong, steady, continued growth. Exactly what we want to see. It feels like the very definition of a soft landing.
Well, when you look at the manufacturing space, this report, we have manufacturing jobs coming in at negative 4,000, computer electronics and manufacturing coming in at negative 1,700, and semiconductors negative 700. President Biden last night was touting manufacturing jobs. But when you look at the manufacturing space, when he last spoke at the State of the Union, he's only added about 70,000 in that manufacturing space. Do you think this shift towards more manufacturing in the United States is starting to stall?
No, I don't think it's stalling at all. I think it's just taking off. So many of the investments that the president helped to get across the line with Democrats in Congress are really just coming to fruition now, right? They're gonna hit the ground in 2024.
But then how do you explain the negative read on manufacturing jobs in this report?
Well, again, overall, the manufacturing jobs are up. It's up over 700,000 since the president came into office. And he has been very clear that there's no reason why we can't make things in America, right? We invented semiconductors here. We're going to make them here. And so those factories have to be built. Those jobs, are still to come. But his vision for an America in which we can build things here, resilient, make our supply chain more resilient, and create good jobs, including good union jobs in all communities. That is what the monthly numbers show. It's definitely what the overall trends show.
When you look at where jobs were created, it's coming from the federal government, 9,000, state jobs, 5,000, local, 38,000. Actually, we haven't seen a drop in government payrolls on a monthly report since August of 2022. Do you think the expansion of government is partly responsible for keeping this labor market where it is?
Well, so the job growth numbers are really much more broadly, it represents much broader industry change than that. We saw big changes in healthcare, right? Hospital jobs were high. We saw an uptick in transportation and warehousing, in social assistance, in restaurants and bars. So it is a story both of private sector growth and of government growth. Even if you take the government out, the total growth is of over 200,000 this month just in the private sector jobs alone. So it is broad-based recovery, which is, again, further sign of its strength. It isn't just one industry that's been driving this.
Well, we also saw in this report wage growth was cooler than expected. That's when it came in. And obviously, we do know that even though there are some gains in the labor market, inflation continues to dog American consumers. This is something that Americans continue to say, that this is something that continues to eat into their household gains, their discretionary spending. How concerned are you about this cooling of wage growth?
So this is work that continues, right? Controlling for prices. Again, inflation has been cut by something like 2/3, and we want Americans to, be able to obviously get some of that breathing room the president talks about. Now, some of that is about making sure that real wages are going up. More wages in workers' pockets is always going to be a good thing. And so, again, the average overall annual wage increase is still it's a little over 4%. It exceeds inflation, which means that we can both have lower prices so that Americans feel less stressed about what they have to pay for basic things, but also higher wages, which is about, making sure that people can have family-sustaining jobs. And those two things go hand in hand, and they certainly go hand in hand under President Biden's economic agenda. And we are, again, seeing all of those trends in that direction. Doesn't mean we don't have more work to do. We do, but we're going to stay at it.
So you think this cooling was potentially just a monthly blip?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't call it cooling. I think that, again, you look at overall the numbers, 275,000 jobs created. Unemployment rate remains at under 4%. We are continuing to see real wage growth. Now, the inflation numbers for this month have not come out yet, but all of those paint a picture of an economy that has recovered from the depths of the pandemic, in which almost 15 million jobs created since the president came into office. And I think, it's really just a good news story all around, and the historic investments that the president has made possible, right? He has a vision for this country. It's not going to be built overnight, but we've certainly seen gains over the last 3 years, and we'll continue to see them as the policies that we've put into place really start to come to fruition. That's, it's a story of continuing improvement and progress and meeting the challenges across the country.
I just want to ask you about something that happened at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. An email that was sent out to quote-unquote super users about a measure of rental inflation was a mistake, according to the Bureau. Why are some people getting emails about inflation and others are not?
So we put out these numbers broadly. There's no reason not to share them, and I'm here to talk about them for that reason too. If I know what you're talking about, I think there was a response to certain questions that have been asked, but we certainly don't have a pool of super users who get this information that other people do not. Our entire purpose here is to tell the story of the labor market, tell the story of the American economy, and especially when it's such a good story, we have no reason not to share it as broadly as we can.
But do you think this raises any questions of transparency?
No, and we certainly would not want it. Our goal is to be transparent. Again, we collect this information for no other reason than so that we can understand what is happening in American households, what the job situation is, what jobs are being created. These Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers drive economic policy for a reason, right? They're strong, reliable. It's the broadest survey that exists, and again, we want, we work for transparency. We want people to know what is going on in the economy, and we think it's important.
Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su, thank you so much for joining us.